don't know if you know, but I'm actually in the middle of writing a book at the moment. Well, I say in the middle, I'm hoping it's much more to the end than it is about being in the middle, because I've been writing it for a really long time. I think today I've been writing it for about 5 years. Obviously on and off. I've come away from it and gone back to it many, many times. And this is probably the most continuous period of working on this book that I've done so far as I record this in May 2025. So the book is about how to build a team. And what I've found is the longer I've been writing this book, the more I need to put into it. So just when I think that one particular chapter is finished, of course, we have something like an interview or a situation with a team member or a new idea about culture we'd like to try, and all of a sudden everything is upended and I feel like I've got to rewrite the chapter or even add a new one in, which I've had to do recently. But one part of the book that I wanted to share with you, and I'm going to read you a little excerpt from it and just add my interpretations onto it, is about the 5 languages of appreciation in the workplace. Now, this isn't my idea. I've just expanded on it. It's an idea that was developed by Gary Chapman and Paul White, 2 doctors. And it's based on the theory that people feel valued in different ways at work. And that, in turn, was based on the theory of the 5 love languages, which I think is Chapman's invention. And that speaks to the fact that if you're in a committed relationship and you want to show your appreciation and your love to your partner, they prefer to receive, even if it's subconscious, they prefer to receive that love and affirmation in a different way from perhaps the one that you feel. So there are 5 of them, and if you show your love and appreciation to them in the way that they prefer, it resonates much more clearly and deeply to them. Whereas if you always show your appreciation and love in the way that you prefer, then you're not really acknowledging the fact that they have a different love language. So what I'm going to do is I'll move away from the 5 love languages and talk to you instead about how you can use these 5 love languages in the workplace, which Chapman and White have called the 5 languages of appreciation. And first of all, I'll say, why do we want to show our appreciation to our team? Well, a team member that feels valued, feels confident, they feel happy, they feel certain about their place in your workplace. They feel that they understand their role better, so they have greater role clarity. And ultimately, they'll stay longer and perform better, which is what you want. They're also better teammates, so they're better as a team. They can support each other better and they integrate better. They don't work in a silo on their own. And that is really important when you're trying to foster the idea of a team. The team culture isn't just separate people, it's actually people that work together. So these 5 languages of appreciation are: number 1, words of affirmation; number 2, quality time; number 3, acts of service; number 4, tangible gifts; and number 5, he's called appropriate physical touch, which can get you into all kinds of trouble if you don't know what appropriate means. So I'm going to just explain a little bit more about how you can show appreciation, and then I'll explain a bit more about these individual types of appreciation, these 5 languages. So this is the excerpt from the book. As employers, we need a way to show our appreciation to our team, mindful that not everyone receives positive feedback in the same way. We tend to default to the language of appreciation that we ourselves prefer, and then it becomes our go-to, regardless of whether that's how that person receives praise or appreciation. So you may be giving verbal praise, like, "You did a great job today with that client, thank you," which falls under words of affirmation, when what they want is some time off, which would be a tangible gift to compensate for the extra time that they put in. Or you make a cuppa, which is an act of service for a team member that seems a bit overwhelmed with everything that they need to do, but actually they'd rather have a hug, which may or may not be appropriate physical touch. So how do you know the language of appreciation that each of your team members feel and need? Well, you need to ask them. Make it part of a wider training session on how to give your clients the best experience, because what makes a team member feel appreciated is also what makes clients feel cared for and valued. With clients, they can observe how they show their appreciation for something your team do for them. For example, if they give your team a box of chocolates as a thank you, that's a good indicator that they most value tangible gifts, which then you can reciprocate with a card or some flowers on completion of their sale. So when you show a personalised appreciation to your team members, they're happier, they feel valued, they feel their job is worthwhile, and they feel noticed and needed. And you'll see a real lift in morale, engagement, and loyalty, which means a happier, more positive and productive place to work for everyone, including you. So I'll give you some examples about how we see this playing out in our workplace. Most of you, if you've been listening to this for a while, this podcast will have heard us talk about, or even seen on a podcast, Emma. Emma works very closely with me in the mastermind, and she is, I could describe her character as a bit like a Labrador puppy. She is extremely excitable. She gets very enthusiastic about things. She's a very warm, bubbly person to be around. And even when you're not feeling, you're feeling a bit flat, her mood will lift your mood and everybody else's as well. So she's perfect for anything client-facing. She makes clients feel better. She can get through difficult situations with just enthusiasm and warmth and kindness. And she's recently done some viewings for the Ashdown Jones team, who are a person down at the moment. And she's had so much positive feedback about her viewings, or we have actually. And they've written to us and said she's the perfect person for the job. And that's because she's got a genuine interest in person. And when she goes around when she goes around a house and she's doing a viewing, she's genuinely nosy. She wants to know all about how that person feels about moving house, about this new house that they might be buying, about the house that they're leaving. What do they do for a living? What are their dogs' names and the kids' names? Mostly dogs, knowing Emma. And so because of that, they feel really important. They feel noticed and valued. And when we give appreciation to Emma, we need to take account of how Emma gives appreciation and how she wants to receive that appreciation. So this morning, for example, we were doing core values in our team meeting. And if you've heard us on the pod talk about this before, we have 6 core values, and we sort of gift a core value to somebody each week. And Emma particularly really appreciates when she gets given a core value. It makes her lift a bit higher. She really enjoys that sort of praise and feedback. She enjoys that praise attention being put on her. And by contrast, Abby, who is our office manager, finds it, I think, a little bit uncomfortable. Abby, if you're listening to this, you can tell me whether I'm right or wrong. But so she'll shy away a little bit from praise and attention, whereas Emma will absolutely lap it up. So if I was going to give somebody any kind of appreciation and I was talking to Emma, I would give her words of affirmation. You're doing a great job. Thank you so much for what you did. I really appreciate it. The clients loved you. It's so nice to work with you. Any of those kind of words. If I'm giving appreciation to Abby, I need to be aware that she's a rock for a start, not a concierge, which is what Emma is. And we'll link to the podcast episode where I've explained these 3 personality types in full before, which is rock, concierge and hustler. So Abby wants to know in sort of logical, informational way what she's done right and wrong. So if I said to her, that process that you've developed for booking and viewings is really working. I can see it's made a marked improvement to what we've been trying to achieve. We can all see now where we're up to with the viewings, what the metrics are. And so thank you very much for putting that together. And that is much better for her to receive, even though it's still words of affirmation. They're very different words and spoken in a different way, and they've got a different meaning to her. So you can probably think about your team members and how they receive appreciation. Who needs a hug every now and again, and who needs something gifting to them? So if I came in and gave, let's say I gave Abby a gift, if it was anything more than a very small gift, she would probably feel a little bit overwhelmed by it. So I might want to give her, I don't know, let's have a think, maybe, I don't know, an Amazon £20 voucher for doing a great job about something. And she would probably really enjoy that, because then she can choose how to spend it. If I was going to give Emma something, I would probably pay for coffee and cake for 2 people, her and a friend, to go to our local favourite cafe. So it's still a gift, but I'm going to be giving it to them in different ways. Let's look at some of the other languages of appreciation. So we've talked about words of affirmation, and we've talked about tangible gifts. Let's talk about quality time, which is when I think that sometimes when your team feels a bit flat, it's because they haven't spent enough time with you. And singling them out and taking them to spend some time with them is really important to them. As you probably know by now, we take them all away, the whole team away, on a holiday once a year, just for a few days. It's a training event, so we incorporate training into it as well. But it is actually a really fun team bonding time. We've taken them away on cruises, we've taken them away to a luxury Airbnb, we've even taken them to centre parks. And the appreciation that they feel is very evident. We can see that they're having a great time. We enjoy that as well. And how they react to such a big sort of quality time ticket is very different from each other. So some people want to go and actually just spend some time on their own, which means actually you've given them a tangible gift. Some people want quality time with you, the director, where you might want to go, for a swim with them, or a meal with them, or even just a walk with them. And they will appreciate that time. So think about your team members and think, if you were going to take them on holiday, how would you show your appreciation to them on that holiday? Not just the holiday itself, but how are you going to show on that holiday you appreciate them? So Emma might want breakfast with me and Phil, which we did on the cruise a couple of times last year. And we really enjoyed seeing Emma and some of the other team members for breakfast. Or it could be that we all go out in the evening and we all go dancing. And that feels like quality time, because we're getting to know each other better on more of a personal level. Let's go to acts of service. How can you show somebody that you appreciate them by an act of service? So that might be, as I mentioned earlier, as simple as bringing them a cup of tea if they look a bit stressed, or bringing them a piece of cake or a biscuit, or just going up to them and saying, is everything okay? What can I help you with? Or taking something off their desk that they feel is a little bit overwhelming, like saying, oh, I'll do that viewing next week, or I'll take on, editing that part of the website because I think you've got enough on your plate. So that's what we mean really by acts of service. It's about literally helping them and supporting them, not just managing them. So imagine they've got a PA right now. What would they give to their PA? What would they ask their PA to do? Appropriate physical touch is an absolute minefield, and I don't want to dwell on it too much here, because I can tell you one thing and you could get it completely wrong. I know with my team that if I was going to give anybody a hug, they would probably be okay with it. But I'm not a guy, and we've got a mainly female team. That means that I feel mostly, that they would feel safe in that hugging environment. Not everybody wants a hug. So going back to Abby, if you listen to this, you probably are not a hugger. Whereas Emma most definitely is a hugger, and she loves a good hug. If you are a guy and you've got a girl team, or you're a girl and you've got a guy team, you've got to be really careful of this, haven't you? You've got to be really mindful. So what does an appropriate physical touch feel like? You might feel that you can just touch them on the arm and say, you're doing a great job. Or you might feel you can't actually physically touch them at all. Or, a handshake is a nice thing, depending on how well you know them. Once you've known somebody for a little while, a handshake is a little bit weird, isn't it? But if you can incorporate a handshake into, welcome back off your holidays, if you're a guy and a guy, then I think that could be an appropriate physical touch too. So it is so subjective. It's impossible to give you any kind of guidelines around this. And you've got to be so careful not to get it wrong. So I would let the other person instigate rather than you instigating, because you could get yourself into all kinds of trouble. But even, a high five, that's still appropriate physical touch, and that's probably okay with most people. But let's say you're in a pad session, or that's what we call our performance and development sessions, and that person's upset. What's the kind of steps that you would take to help them feel better? You can go and get them a tissue and a cup of tea, but is a hug appropriate? Not always. So with these languages of appreciation, we've got to think about what it feels like from the other person's point of view. And something I quite often ask our new team members when they start here is, are you a hugger? Because there's a lot of answers in that, isn't there? If they say no, then they probably don't like physical touch from somebody they don't know very well, i.e. you. If they say, oh yeah, I love a hug, then I've been known to give a hug at the end of an interview before. But again, as I say, it is a real minefield. You've got to be super, super careful of this. So what we're talking about these 5 languages of appreciation, or if you want to practice on your partner, the 5 love languages, is about making that person feel special, appreciated, valued, safe, supported, that they're a good fit, and that their role is something that matters to you and your business. So any way that you can do any of those things is good. Even a pad session, or whatever you call your reviews, even that is quality time. Sitting and just spending half an hour, 45 minutes with somebody that wants to tell you all about their role, where they're up to on projects, how they feel that they could develop themselves, and what they need from you to be able to do that. That in itself is quality time, isn't it? What I've also done in the past in a pad session is, we did this for Lucy, who is our lead designer. I feel that the best place for a creative is not sitting in front of a computer screen all day. And I've encouraged Lucy to get out and about and go and visit some of our homes, even on a styling shoot, every now and again a viewing, not very often, or just literally a visit. But recently we suggested that she goes to an art gallery somewhere. And I said to her, what's the art gallery you would most love to go to? And she said, the V&A, the Victoria and Albert Museum in London. So we paid for her to go down for the day. She didn't stay overnight, so it wasn't really expensive. V&A is free, apart from some of their collections. And it was just the price of a train ticket and some lunch for her. And she, I think, she could tell you, but I think she felt valued. I think she felt seen and appreciated as a creative person, and that she felt inspired and she really enjoyed her day, and she's intending to feed back to us and show us what she learned and what she took inspiration from. And that is, what is that? It is quality time, in a way. It is an act of service, and it's a tangible gift. Probably of the 3, it's probably a tangible gift, I would say, out of those 3. What else have we done? Every year on somebody's work anniversary, they get £100 from us in a voucher to spend on whatever they want. And every year that goes by, they get an extra £100. So somebody who's just been here a year will get £100 on their anniversary. Somebody who's been here 8 years will get £800 on their anniversary, which is a significant amount. We know because we pay it. And it's also a significant amount to them. That definitely shows appreciation and value. And in some ways, I think that's more important than a salary increase. Of course, what you really want to do is do both. But if you are giving a small salary increase, you need to make sure that that person feels appreciated and valued in lots of other ways. And one of the ways could be a work anniversary voucher. Could also be a duvet day. You can maybe put a couple of duvet days in a year instead of a holiday entitlement. So let's say you've got 30 days holiday entitlement. You could say, I'm also going to add 1 or 2 duvet days into that entitlement. So if you ever feel like you just don't want to come into work and you can give us more than, say, 3 days notice, then you can take a duvet day as long as it doesn't adversely affect the company. You could also give them their birthdays off. These are all acts of service and tangible gifts. It could be that somebody's got a funeral for a close family member or a friend coming up. They might not feel able to come into work the next day, so could you give them an extra compassionate day or days? Those are all tangible gifts, but I think they are also about just seeing the human behind the team member. You don't want to treat everybody like automatons. They're not just robots, they're not AI just running your agency for you. They are real people with real lives, and we are just a very small part of their life. So when you think about how you can show value, it's really about noticing the person behind the role. What does that person enjoy doing? What do they really not enjoy doing? What are their hopes and dreams? What are their insecurities and things that they just don't find easy? For example, we've been on a cruise the last 2 years with our team, and the last cruise we went on, Abby got really seasick and she really didn't enjoy it. She tried her best, little trooper that you are, Abby, thank you, but it really wasn't for her. And it was also it's a very sociable place, and or space. That's not necessarily Abby. She maybe wants a little bit of quiet downtime. So we can carry on just catering to the Emmas of this world who absolutely loved every second, or we can say, actually, even though there's only one team member that doesn't enjoy this, why don't we just reshift and go to a really nice holiday house instead? Because then everybody will still enjoy it, but particularly because then Abby can also enjoy it with us and feel part of the team. And that really is an act of service, isn't it? It's really noticing that person and what they feel, and acknowledging that as a valid feeling and not just riding roughshod over it. We have something called a Send Your Team training here at Ashdown Jones HQ. In fact, if you're part of Mastermind, you'll know the next one is on the 19th of June. If you're not part of Mastermind and you want to talk about Mastermind, then please reach out to me at sam@ajmastermind.co.uk and I'll explain how it works. But 3 times a year, we invite our Mastermind team members to come for the day and enjoy our training here at Ashdown Jones. So we'll train them for the day. And what we notice is how unappreciated most team members feel most of the time. The biggest challenges they face are things like clarity of role. If you don't have clarity of role, you don't know if you're doing a good enough job. So actually you need more appreciation, not less. So if you are not sure if your job is like admin, behind the scenes job, or out and about on viewings and photo shoots, or anything in between, or even valuations, if you're kind of pulled from pillar to post and you don't know if you're doing a good job, then what kind of appreciation are you going to feel? You're not going to, are you? You're not going to feel valued. You're not going to feel your role is valued, and you're not going to feel like you're making a difference to the company. So it's super, super important to get clarity of roles so that people then feel certainty. So then when you do praise and appreciate them, they know what they're doing that has caused you to praise them and show appreciation. So it actually starts at a much more base level than you might think. So we go through clarity of roles. We also go through appreciation. We go through progress and development. Most of the team members that come here, probably, 29 out of 30 have no idea what their next move is in the company. They don't know how to progress. They don't know what they would need to change about their activities, their actions, their proactivity. They don't know what they need to do to progress, whether that's progression in terms of role and responsibility or in terms of salary, but most commonly both. One question we get quite a lot is, how do I progress in the company when the person who's got my job is there, and the job that I want, is there, and they're not going anywhere? How do I progress? Do I need to go to a different company? How do I tackle a difficult conversation with my directors when I'm not happy about something? Those are all things that come up in the Send Your Team Day. So how can you preempt this? Well, for a start, you must be having monthly reviews. We don't call them reviews. We call them PAD sessions, performance and development sessions. And it's a much more one-way than two-way conversation. So we are there to listen, which is an act of service. We are there to make sure they feel in a safe space and they feel supported with how they can be honest with you. They don't feel judged. They just feel that they're in a space where whatever they say to you, you will keep confidential and you'll help them work on that thing on their behalf. So it could be that they feel uncertain, they feel unvalued, they feel that there's maybe some backbiting or gossiping going on amongst the team, so they don't feel like they belong. And all those things are causing them to feel very unstable in their job. What can you do? What responsibility do you feel like you have in order to change that? And again, that is an act of service, but it's also quality time, because you've got to spend time with that person to understand what their needs and wishes are and why at the moment they're not being met. Now, you might feel when you sit down with somebody that their commentary and their criticism or their feedback is unjust and unwarranted and actually just inaccurate. But remember, please, that that's how they feel. Whether or not it's the truth to them. They feel that they need more from you. And so that's what you need to do if you want to retain them. If you don't want to retain them, it's all good. But what we're trying to do is help people be the best form of themselves they can possibly be. And that is going to take time and effort from you. And ultimately, as I said earlier, your team and your office, your workspace is going to be a much happier place if they're happy. A happy team is a happy you. You can only really be as happy as your unhappiest team member. It's a bit like being a mum and you're only as happy as your unhappiest child, which I heard and is so, so true. So I'm spinning plates with my 3 children and my 6 grandchildren and thinking, right, is everybody okay? Does everybody need anything extra from me? And that's really what your team is. It's kind of like your children. You've got a huge responsibility to these people. You're paying sometimes their mortgages, their cars, their holidays, their clothes, their kids' food. It doesn't get much more fundamental than that. You take that away, what have you really got? So these people that are in your team, they've put their faith and their trust in you. You've got to respect that. You've got to support them. You've got to show them appreciation, that they're valued, and you've also got to show them love. And that's really what being a leader is all about. So I'm going to leave you with that thought. The 5 languages of appreciation in the workplace: words of affirmation, quality time, acts of service, tangible gifts, and appropriate physical touch. Go and find the book. It's actually a book title, and we'll link to that in the show notes as well. And hopefully that will make your team and you healthier and happier.